This TFMR podcast is brought to you by your friends at JM Bullion. Visit jmbullion.com for all your gold and silver bullion needs. Welcome back to your TF Metals Report podcast summary for the week of July 10 through the 14. A very, very interesting week in the markets and the precious metals. As you know, these podcasts are something we provide for our subscribers at TF Metals Report every single day. A post in the morning and a summary podcast in the afternoon. And what you're about to hear is just a small fraction of what we discussed on each of the days of this week. On Monday, one of the charts we looked at was that daily chart of the dollar index. As the dollar index ebbs and flows, you get an impact on the precious metals on a daily basis. A rising dollar kind of helps keep the metals weak. A falling dollar helps to promote them in a world driven by computer trading and high-frequency trading. So the dollar's been breaking down. It's something we've been watching closely. If you've been tracking these podcast summaries every week, you know that. And a look at that dollar chart is how we began the week back on Monday the 10th. The dollar index, we track it every day. Look at where it peaked out back on Thursday, right on the line. So now we are connecting, well, the original peak at 108 with three more attempts then to get above that line and break out, falling sharply again today, closing below 102, as I said, for the first time since May 11th. These previous times, one, it broke down through 103, it tried to get back above 103 and then fell, couldn't hold 102, went to 101. You can see that in January, you can see that in April and May. Looks like we're headed there again. Again, who thinks that's Who was expecting that? Let me put it that way. Back in late May and early June. Other than yours truly, who has been showing you this chart every single friggin' day. Get another point down in the dollar index that is going to prohibit the precious metals falling any further. How much they'll rally? Well, we'll see. But that's certainly going to keep them from falling any further. But of course, our focus at TF Metals Report is the precious metals, gold and silver. And if we can figure out where the lows are, maybe we can save a few bucks next time we buy some physical metal. The metals are both making a series of higher highs and higher lows on their charts. That's emblematic of a bull market. So if you can find the higher low and catch it as it's turning, you can benefit and save yourself some bucks, more than the cost of a subscription, that's for sure. On Tuesday, we line 4 or 5 points on this line going back to May the 5th. Briefly trading above it last evening in Asia, only to get absolutely slammed in London and then held in check all through the COMEX session. So now what's going to happen next? Now look, the thing that bothers me, again, is that you can count waves. You can say 1 down, 2 up, 3 down, 4 up, and then a 5th one down coming. You can look at it that way. You can look at these flags, right? That there's still somewhere to go. And again, the downtrend line, the primary uptrend line off of last fall's lows is around 22. So is there that move coming? I hope not. I want to break out. I want to go higher tomorrow. However, one last thing I would point out to you. Do you see that big red candle on June the 20th? Okay, that's the 5th point on this line. Okay. Do you see the action 2 days before it? The big hammer thingy, whatever that is, and then the red with the red little itty bitty red head, and then the green candle next to it, and then the slam, the big red candle on the 20th. Okay, compare that to the last 2 days. Again, hammer thingy. Okay, action that kind of gets and dabbles with the line the next day. If there's a big slam tomorrow, then we'll be following this pattern: down, up, down, up, down. Again, I want this to be over. I like, as I wrote this morning, a lot of the things about these charts. I like the dollar falling. I think we're done. And I think the latest higher low is in. However, we still have to get through tomorrow. Another thing we've discovered over the years at TF Metals Report is how closely the algos pair a trade of the GDX and COMEX silver. Don't ask me why. I can probably come up with a couple reasons why. But if you plot the two together, you can sure see a very distinct and very close correlation. So if silver is putting in a higher low, and if silver is looking to break out, well, maybe the GDX is as well. And a rising GDX looks like a rising market for the mining sector, and that was something we discussed on Wednesday the 12th. Finally, to the shares, caught this as well, right? Soaring today, also up above its 50-day and its 100-day. Then getting back above 31, the next target, really important level, is 33. But notice the other line I put on here. See, again, that island reversal back on November the 4th. Even though it was lower in September, that truly, to me, was the low. So if you connect that through the lows in early March the 10th or whatever that is, and extend it forward, GDX tried to hold it as support, failed, but really held the 200-day. And now look at what the high was yesterday, right on that line. Now gapping back above that line. Next target in the GDX is going to be closer to 40. Now you think, again, that's crazy. That's only 20% from here. That's not in the GDX. That ain't much. What did it rally from November to February? It went from 23 to 33. That's 10. That's 40%. From March into April, it went from 27 to 36. That's almost 40%. So 40% from 29, take you to about 40. Okay? That's where we're going, brother. If you've been following these podcasts every week, you also know we've been watching copper very closely this year. I've written about it in my weekly articles at Sprott Money probably 3 or 4 times. You should go there, sprottmoney.com, and look for one of those articles. The fundamental physical situation for copper is very interesting, especially as we get in later into the year with declining global physical stockpiles. So we took a look at the chart of copper on Thursday the 13th, because with the falling dollar, you'd expect copper to be moving up. And lo and behold, look at this. It's starting to break out. Could this foreshadow higher, much higher prices in the back half of this year? And what would that mean for silver? All part of what we discussed Thursday the 13th. Gotta talk about copper. Big, huge green candles in copper, too. And look what usually happens, just like silver. Look at the candles in early November. Look at the candles in early January. Usually this is the start of something big. Yeah, you know we've been talking about it all year long, about dwindling physical copper stockpiles. Goldman Sachs, they're forecasted by August, September, whatever, you're going to run out of copper. Again, we talk about this all the time. We couldn't figure out why the paper price kept going down. Well, it's not going down anymore. Copper, too, above all its moving averages now, above where I would draw the trend line. Copper starts trading with a 4. Then all of a sudden, these highs from January start coming into focus. Copper starts making new all-time highs, starts moving to 450 and 480. All of that stuff's in play. You think that sounds crazy. That's only 20%. Dollar goes to 95 over the next 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Hell yes, copper could break out like that. And then you throw on the physical situation. And remember how copper trades with silver? Okay, anyway, I just want to make sure this was on your radar because this is pretty important stuff. And on Friday, July the 14th, let's wrap up the week looking at the dollar index. That's how we began the week. And if you follow these weekly podcast summaries, you know we've been watching that dollar index chart really closely. Not many people were expecting a drop through 101, but we've been discussing it for the last several weeks. And it was really a plummet this week through 101 and actually below 100 as we head into the weekend. You can trace this back to July the 6th. What happened July the 6th? Well, that was when Yellen was in China. That's also the first time we got that report on RT about the BRICS potential gold-backed currency coming out next month. It's also the beginning of the data that went soft, whether it's jobs report or inflation. Maybe it's all three of those factors. But what a plunge and what a red candle on the weekly chart. We'll need to watch this closely. Holding below 100 is going to open the door to maybe 96 or even 95 as we get later into the summer. And that would have a very positive impact for the precious metals. So keep an eye on the dollar index going forward. Going forward, it's now getting into late summer, which means it's time for my annual sabbatical, as we call it at TFMR. So this is the final podcast summary you're going to have for a couple of weeks. We won't have one next week or the week after. But once we get into early August, these podcast summaries will return on Spotify, YouTube, wherever it is you like to enjoy this content. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and we'll have another podcast summary for you in 3 weeks.